Welcome to the Group X podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. One word that describes you.
Oh gosh.
I've put you on the spot right from the word go, haven't I?
One word that describes me. Spontaneous.
I like it.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get from me. Like, I'm a different person every day, I guess. So you never know what you're going to get with me, I guess. So,
Mate, brilliant. That sets me up to ask some fantastic questions about moving us forward. So what I want to do is get you to tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about Matt.
Wow. I moved to Brisbane. I'm from Toowoomba, so a small town. I'm from Toowoomba. I moved here about 12, 13 years ago. And then I think, because I studied theatre when I was in Toowoomba.
Okay.
So yeah, getting into group fitness and stuff like that, I think that was my performance outlet, getting into the fitness industry. And yeah, moved to Brisbane to do acting and then found myself teaching fitness, so a bit different.
How long was the acting career or acting side of things going for before you jumped into fitness?
Well, I studied it for the year and then I kind of wasn't getting what I wanted out of the study. It was a lot of more, I wanted to get acting, get into like all that stuff, learn the art of what that is. So I ended up leaving uni and moving to Brisbane. From there, I started getting into like some TV shows and some ads and stuff like that, little extra work. And then I got into working in the gym, got a full-time job at reception when Fitness Firsts were around in Queensland.
Yeah.
Got a full-time job. And then started doing little acting jobs here and there. But the light or my vision of acting kind of phased out a little bit. I kind of found out that I wasn't putting so much dedication into that. And because I wasn't so dedicated in doing, because I was meant to be in a movie, but I wasn't really dedicated and having the time to do that. So I'm like, well, maybe this isn't for me, and ended up not being for me at all in the end. So,
fair enough. I think it's a good self-realization. You know where your skills are and why you had the passion and drive to go and do it.
Yeah.
You sort of realize in yourself, maybe not.
Yeah.
And anyone that
either go to Sydney to do like you were perfect for Home and Away and Neighbours, and I'm like, that'd be great. But then I'm like, I just got into a relationship, so what do I do? How do I balance that? And it was like, we can do long distance, and I'm like, if it's long distance, it's just not going to work. So
it's not going to work.
Yeah. I just didn't really see that happening for me, and like, I'm not sad about it. I don't miss it because it was a lot of politics and just too much drama to juggle. So yeah. Love what I do now. Go back.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what inspired you then to get into becoming a Les Mills instructor? Where did that and how did that start?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Johnny earlier today, like my first class that I did was a body combat class, and that was his class. And I thought it was body attack because everyone's like punching and kicking, and I'm like, that's weird. This is a weird, odd class, and everyone knows the choreography and doing their thing. So that was my very first group fitness class that I ever did, and found out that it wasn't body attack, it was body combat. So I learned that quite quick. And then it started, like I said, I was working full-time in a gym. I was going to do my first program, which was going to be body pump. It ended up doing body balance.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I did my first body balance module. I think that was about 11 years ago now. So I did that with Lenny Jenkins, which, she's doing awesome things in Brisbane now. She's got her own yoga studio, so she's doing awesome for everybody that's want to do Pilates and yoga. Big shout out to her. So I started doing body balance, and then after that, kind of didn't teach for a while because, I was still working full-time, so it was hard for me to find that balance. But ended up teaching it, loved it, and then went on to do my Shabam training not long after that.
Okay. So we've said balance, we've said Shabam. Yeah, I know there's more. Which ones?
There's body jam, body attack. I'm trained in body attack. I only did like my 2 days and ended up certifying because body attack was good, but it wasn't. I was used to that kind of training. Grit, and then in 2 weeks' time, joining my sprint training.
Okay, so what's that? 7?
About that, yeah, if you can count.
7 in total.
Yeah.
And I struggled with 3. Yeah, the choreography for 3 different programs, let alone 7. How many classes, how many of those programs are you still teaching at the moment?
I'm still teaching body balance, shabam, and jam in some places when I need to. Yeah.
Okay.
Getting a new job to give up to a couple of classes. I was with one club, then I moved as GFF of the city. So looking after two clubs and trying to find that balance. So
Yep.
missed jam, but hopefully there's some classes going around.
Yeah. So what's out of those three, shabam, balance, and jam? You got a favourite?
Oh, that's nice. That's a nasty question.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, I I like I prefer body balance. Body balance is
Yep.
a favorite. Because you have I feel even though Shabam is a very connection program, it's all about that connection, having that party atmosphere. Body balance, it's a more slower. So you do have that time for you to just stop and connect with everybody and
Yep.
regardless of whatever that is for as an instructor or as the members in front of you, you do have that time to connect. I'm a big connector when it comes to my classes. That's one of my strengths. So
Yep.
I like having the opportunity in my classes to connect with people.
You got a favourite memory from teaching a balance class?
Funny memories, more funny memories than anything. Um,
Share one with us.
oh, look, like for today, for example, like you have a lot of members who like to talk to you while you're teaching. So that's one of my favorite moments. Especially when you have people who love their yoga classes and they forget that you're mirroring the person in front of you, and then they face the back and they face however they like. Um, they're my favorite. They're my favorite moments in the class where, and again, you can use your connection just to have fun with them, not poke fun at them, but
Yep.
have fun with them and just go face.
Yeah.
Come on, I want to see
Yep.
you just face me. So, and they laugh. They realize what they do. They laugh, and you kind of have a giggle. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're my favorite parts in classes where you can have them.
Yep. As you mentioned your GFM as
Yeah.
well. Yep. Whereabouts you GFMing at the moment? Where are you?
So two of the Brisbane City clubs. So it'd be Elizabeth Street and Edward Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Obviously GFM, you know, you're fully abreast of, and I can say you would appreciate the different types of personalities that you have to manage
Yes.
on your timetable. Yep. Knowing that it's not only the personalities of the instructors, but your members as well as everybody else within the business, that kind of stuff. Have there been any challenges that you've had to deal with being a group fitness manager with instructors more so than members? And is there anything you can share with us around how you dealt with that kind of?
Yeah, I think for me, it's not really a big case. I guess I have a really good skill of putting out fires before the fire gets any bigger.
Yep.
Um, and because I've worked in the gym for so long, I do come across a lot of members, and I think working at reception, have to be a really, really quick problem solver.
Yeah.
I think having the history of that, I know how to adapt to fit people's different personalities. And I think that's why, because it drew me into, because I'm at the moment starting to be a therapist, so I'm doing a counseling course at the moment. So I think also with that, learning that on the side has kind of helped me to adjust how I need to be and show up for people,
Yep.
and especially for my team as well. So I think being very upfront, honest, and giving them the answer that they should have rather than giving them the answer that you think that they should have.
Mate, that's so refreshing to hear from a group fitness manager
Mm.
that you are almost one step ahead,
Yeah.
not waiting for the reaction and then, oh shit, I've got to go and put that out. You know, there's always going to be spot fires, as we know, but being on the front foot. I love the fact that you work at reception as well, you know, that you've been in reception, because it was one thing that I did back in the day of Group X manager at North Sydney Fitness First down here or in Sydney, that jump on reception at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm.
Classes weren't starting there till 5:30, but everybody that walked in, I'd have a chat to.
Yeah.
I'd be a cheeky bastard. If they were walking to the weights floor, I'd be like, no. Group X is downstairs.
Yeah.
No, not up there. No, that's just around there. Yeah, cool. See you down
Yeah,
there.
I've done that, big muscle dudes, and I'm like, oh, there's all dance classes on, jump on in. He's like, it looks a bit crazy, and I'm like, you jump in, it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that's the getting the members to know who you are.
Mm.
Yeah. So if there is a problem, they know who to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
They know who to come to straight away.
And just being really transparent with members and also your team as well. Because it's a big, massive respect builder. If you being transparent, telling them what they need to hear, then they're going to respect you. And that's especially coming from like a really small clubs at GFM and then moving into two big city clubs.
Yep.
They're already quite well established. They've got members who've been there since the fitness first days coming into it when Good Life took it over and their clubs and rebranded. They're already set in their ways, so you don't want to come in and change everything all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Stomp your ground like I'm here, I'm your new GFM. You got to know everybody first before, if there's any changes need to be made, don't change it because don't fix something that's not broken.
Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast.
Do you find a lot of the skills you have work for both group fitness, Group X manager as well as Group X instructor? So as in you're using the same sort of skills, even though you're managing a team of people, but you're still able to use that skill set when you're teaching?
Yes.
Yep.
I do find that I guess because there's stuff that you kind of learn in your aims as well when it comes to like your disc profiling and everything like that. But for me, disc profiling, like I said, you kind of intertwine between both of them.
Yep.
But then if you take the time to know your members, even before or after class and have those small conversations, and that's what I do with my team, having those conversations with them, you kind of know what you need to say in your classes to really allow them to either move a particular way or get in a particular position, and then change up your coaching from there.
Yep.
And that's how you do it with your team. You change up how you talk to them.
Yeah. Yep. Now you're a trainer and presenter?
I'm not a trainer. I'm just a presenter at the moment, but
okay.
hopefully work into that position.
Yep. So if anyone from Les Mills listening, tune in here. He needs to be a trainer, not just a presenter. little plug for you. So presenter in which programs?
Just Body Balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And have you had an opportunity to do any filming?
Yes, I was able to have the opportunity to do Shabam 39 for the Sydney filming.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Talk us through that experience. Yeah, I know I was there as a participant side of things, but for Body Bike and also watching Rach do her stuff with Attack and CX. Now, how was that experience for you? One, when you found out you were going to be up there, but leading into the whole thing. Guide us through that if you can.
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky to be part of it. I know I was myself, and I think someone else on the master class as well. We weren't presenters, Shabam presenters. We were just part of I guess back then we were part of the Les Mills squad. So only there to be developed. If there was space in the team, it would be developed, which is now the reserve team. So yeah, myself and I think a couple of other people on the video, we were very lucky enough to have the opportunity to be part of the filming process. Once we got the release, which was filmed with Rachel and a couple of other people that she worked with to build the releases, we were given the release, practiced it a lot. We also got really good feedback from Sarah Robinson. So she was the one that we would send videos to her and she would send us video feedback back, which is really cool to work with her.
Brilliant.
So yeah, once we done that, I had about a week of prep. And then we went to Sydney and just started a full week of rehearsals. So yeah, in there for a few hours. But yeah, we were really lucky to work with Rachel because that was one of her last masterclasses that she got to film for Shabam. So very grateful that I got to know her more and work with her. So yeah, it was a really fun process to get to know her better and work with Alex Sanchez as well, which I think having someone like him who wasn't afraid to balance out his feminine and masculine energy in the classes, in the master classes that he taught, it made me feel really more comfortable to teach as myself in class. So that was a really big takeaway from that whole process, just to go back into my classes and just teach more like me and how I feel. Because I felt like I had to be someone else teaching Shabam. Because I wanted to Shabam boy and had to be Shabam boy.
Mate, I want to touch on that because I think it's something that's more and more relevant and important now in our industry. Teaching being authentic to you, but really you. As you're saying, you felt like you needed to teach in a certain way. I think a lot of us in the industry now, everyone knows I haven't taught now in 6-7 years, so I'm a little bit removed from the cold face in front of members. You know, I know that it's obviously changed a hell of a lot since COVID has hit us. You know, my understanding from talking to so many people is that the way we were teaching back in 2018, 2019 compared to the way we're teaching now has got to be different, because members they're expecting a hell of a lot more. They've seen a lot more online. They're expecting a bit more high quality. So the way we communicate and everything has got to be different. How do you find being authentic to you now compared to authentic to you before?
So me starting out having someone like Johnny in your life, you kind of like, when I started teaching Shabam, it was like, oh, you'll be fine. You've got Johnny. You're all good. You got Johnny to mentor. I'm like, no, nothing to do with Johnny. It's more how I teach. If I could be, I could be the most shittiest instructor in the world,
Yep.
but it didn't even matter if Johnny's there.
Yep.
So I'd fall up to me. So I felt like going into there, I had to teach like Johnny because everyone loves Johnny, teach like him. If I don't teach like him, no one's going to like me, because he was the only guy that until Luke came over from Adelaide, he was basically the only, I guess, more higher level Shabama to work from. And then, so I felt like I had to teach from a different level, which didn't feel authentic to me. I wasn't liking, I didn't feel comfortable when I taught. But then, like when I saw other people on the master classes and learning from them, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that person's giving me permission to be more authentic and teach from that more authentic space.
This is the Group X podcast.
We were just chatting about teaching authentically to you and not teaching like Johnny, teaching you and working on teaching your way. Take us through that. Take us through the moment where you had that realization that you weren't teaching to your style.
Yeah.
Give us a bit of info about that if you can.
Well, it just came about where I just felt there was a point where I felt like when I was teaching or something like Shabam, where it's very high energetic, I felt like it wasn't teaching from how I was as a person. And having other people teaching the program, you kind of felt like you needed to teach the way they were teaching. And I was just starting out with just the one class a week, and then having other people around you teaching all those classes, and you're like, okay, cool. Well, if I want more classes, I have to teach like them. And then throughout teaching more and more, having experience, I just felt like I wasn't teaching like myself, but I wasn't really getting to that point of realization that why I was. Getting into AIM 2, I kind of had the realization where getting those little nuggets and whatnot that you learn in your AIM 2s and stuff like that, I kind of slowly got into that realization. Moving on to being in Shabam 39, and like I said, working with someone like Alex Sanchez, where he's not afraid to teach from, I guess, dancing in a feminine way, expressing how he wants to express. If the music calls for a more like a feminine move, he will do it. So working with him, and I spoke to him about it, and I was like, thank you for being part of these master classes, and watching him, it gave me permission to be more expressive in my moves and teach in a way that I never thought I would be able to teach, because I thought if I was to do that, I'd be judged. But after that, having that experience, going away, taking that away into my classes, I was able to enjoy teaching more. And I think even just the people in front of me, the members, kind of realized that people said that I taught differently, and I'm like, is it a good way or a bad way? And it's like, in a good way, I just see more you. And so I'm like, cool, well, it's good. Like, I'm teaching the way I want to teach, and people are seeing that, so I know I'm doing something well, and I'm a lot more happier in the space that I'm teaching from now.
This is the Group X podcast.
You're gay, yeah?
Yes.
Yep. So was it and I didn't want to assume. Yep. I want to ask you a question about being gay and teaching.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's sort of a little bit where this is sort of coming from a little bit at the moment. finding you and finding being comfortable in you in order to have that flamboyant and have that just you, yeah, not is that so I get this right in my head before I go down. Was that what you were struggling with?
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
I was worried about, like, no offense to how the Shabam releases were, because we always had the boy option and the girl option.
Yep.
And there was always just a really big emphasis on that. And in my head, I'm like, I knew in my head, I'm like, well, why can't the boys do the girl options?
Yep.
And it kind of created that wall of, okay, cool, the boys do this and the girls do this.
Yep.
But I kind of wanted to do, like, I guess, the slut drops in shit.
Yep.
I wanted to do that because it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun
Yep.
to do that. So when I got that out of my head of how a boy should teach Shabam, and
Yep.
got to do, like, the slut drops and, like, the snaps and stuff like that, I felt like I was teaching more me and I was having more fun teaching the classes.
Yep. Yep. I thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And we'll just roll with it. I'll be able to edit bits through with it. But that's the authenticity that I think needs to be brought in from a lot of instructors everywhere. Yeah. I was guilty of it when I first started. I taught like Pete Manuel. I taught like Shannon Cleary. Why? Because they were my mentors. And well, that's how they're teaching. And you know what? Well, I've got to do the same thing. And I mimic them. Yeah, because that's what I thought when I first started. It wasn't until probably a couple of years in that I finally found me and finally found the smart ass little bastard that is deep within that came out, that's cheeky, that allows people to connect. And once I found my own voice was when my classes got a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember so many people saying to me, "Oh, mate, you just sound like Pete Manuel." I'm like, yeah, okay, well, he taught me. Like, you know, there's a reason why, you know, like, oh, you act like Shannon. Well, yeah, she was my mentor. Like, you know, that type of stuff. It wasn't until I had that realization moment, or it just sort of, I don't even think it was a realization moment. It just sort of happened that all of a sudden I got comfortable with me and started teaching the way that I thought a class should be taught, because it was me connecting with the music, connecting with the workout, connecting with everything. So, mate, thank you for sharing that as well. And I suppose that the question, if I take it back to where we were with the filming opportunity in Sydney, when you walked out on stage, which Matt came out? The authentic Matt, or the one that thought he needed to do like somebody else?
Oh, definitely the authentic Matt came out.
Awesome.
Because there was this really cool thing where one of the tracks in the release is called Boys, and there's a line where it's like from the Playboys to the Gay Boys.
Yep.
So there was a moment where I spoke to Rach and I'm like, when it says Gay Boys, can we, like, drop down and do that? And she's like, don't even ask, just do it.
Excellent.
And then when we're on stage, you can see it. We're like, boom, we do the snap and everything like that. And people love that stuff because you never really saw much of that in the Shabam releases. Like, yes, they had gay presenters on the master classes, but I think people on the outside, you don't really see that. Like, you have the gay presenters on Body Attack, but they're very, like, I'm going to say it, but they put their deep voice on. Like, let's go, more energy. And it just seems not real.
Yes.
Because then you meet them outside of that environment and they're completely different people.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience. Just, I know Shabam is a program where you can be yourself, but I think being part of the experience, Rach really nurtured that environment, really nurtured people who wanted to be themselves.
Yep.
And being, I guess, her being overseas, she was able just to go, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was because she knew what was happening with the program and she thought, screw it, let's just have a really good time. Doesn't matter what happens, let's just have fun.
Yep.
And I think as part of the team and the other people involved in that masterclass, I think we all felt that as well. And that was lots and lots of fun to be part of. I don't know if it'll happen again. I don't mind if it'll happen again because it was really good fun to be part of the whole process.
I love it. I want if we can touch on it. Why do you think it is that instructors feel they need to teach differently. So as you from your own experience, you felt like you needed to teach differently, and you couldn't be you couldn't be flamboyant, you couldn't be yourself, you couldn't be Matt. Yeah.
Hmm.
Why do you think instructors feel that as you were talking about, even the putting on the deep voice and that kind of stuff? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's due to non-acceptance? Do you think it's what is it? Do you think that makes instructors teach or think they've got to teach like that?
I think the hard part is, especially because you've got people, when you do classes, you put on a performance, especially when you're watching things like the masterclass. Yes, it's a group fitness tool, but it's also a performance they're putting on as well.
Yep.
And I think because it's also pre-choreographed that we're learning from these people, I think you might naturally start to copy them. I know sometimes you might, people start gradually putting on a New Zealand accent when they start teaching because
Yep.
and it naturally happens.
Yep.
I think I'm that kind of person. I think I adapt, like I said, I adapt to people and their emotions, their personality, and change who I need to be to do that. So I've found that I was kind of doing that. Like accent would change. I can talk to a British person and I'll start talking in a British accent. I think people just watch the video and then change the personality for it. But then I think sometimes when you're on stage, you do put that mask up because being on stage, teaching to people, afraid to be judged, it's hard to be vulnerable.
Yep.
That's why people probably put on a different persona, put that particular mask on, because when we are being taught about how to teach Les Mills, we put on the program, we put on a body balance hat, we put on a body pump hat because we need to teach from a particular essence. Sometimes I feel, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but sometimes I feel we're stepping in different essences of the programs.
Yep.
We're also not teaching from an authentic place. Sometimes I do struggle with being part of the body balance team because I'm not like the other presenters.
Yep.
I don't have a yoga background. I'm not, my coaching is very, very different. So sometimes that's a big struggle when it comes to teaching as part of the body balance presenter team because I don't teach like other people. And I know I do a good job. I told I do a good job, but every quarter it's a struggle because I'm not teaching like them, but then also need to remember that I'm teaching like me. Because sometimes my body balance hat on, but it's kind of, I like to say that it's kind of tipped to the side.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense, mate. Makes sense. It's.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's the good thing that I'm going to say to you straight up is that you've got the realization to realize that what you're doing is a bit different, but it's still okay.
Yeah.
Yep. It doesn't need to be the same as everybody else because if we're doing the same as everyone else, we're not doing anything different.
And I've tried that. I'm not a very good, when I teach, I don't talk from like letting go energy and giving to other people. I'm not like that as a body balance instructor in my classes. So I did try and do that. It just felt icky teaching it. Yep. It wasn't me. I'm a very I'm a big connector. I'm very musical driven. I love letting people feel the movement, however they want to feel it in their bodies. If they feel the energy in the body's awesome. If they feel a particular spot where I'm not telling them where it should be, awesome. Yep. I don't mind. As long as they're safely having fun, then I know they're teaching a really good class.
You're being you and allowing them to be them.
100%. And that's why I think that's my why I create funny.
I've got a couple of questions here, and one of them is, what's your why?
Oh yeah.
I think you've nailed that for us without us really having to go down that path. But I gotta say, I appreciate the openness and the honesty and talking about it as well. You know, I think a lot of instructors, as we said, feel they need to teach in a certain way and just go, oh, well, that's, you know, if I'm gonna get ahead, if I want to get onto the trainer team or the presenter team, then I've got to do this and this is what I've got to do. The way you get onto those teams is by being you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Being 100% unique, natural, comfortable in your own skin, and teaching from your place.
Yeah. Just just teach classes. Get out there, just have fun with your classes. You don't need to be anybody else on the videos because, to be honest, they're taught that way to be that person in the master classes. They're not like that in real life. I've been able to meet a few people on the master classes outside of them filming, and they're not like that.
Yeah.
So they're completely different people to what they are.
That's one thing that I've really enjoyed about doing this podcast and chatting to so many trainers and presenters. You know, what you see on a masterclass filming and the conversation that I've had with some of these people is so not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So not what I was expecting to go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to get them behind the scenes almost and having that one-on-one chat when all that, the lights, the cameras, all that kind of stuff's not there.
Yeah.
It's such a normal, everyday conversation that you'd have with your mate in the coffee shop or at the pub or wherever it may be. You know, it's so nice to actually see. And I think that's the part of what the topic here is that you just need to be you. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% you. You know, whether it's teaching to Tuesday night, 5:30, 40 people that rock up, or whether it's presenting at a quarterly workshop, you just need to be you.
Yeah. No.
Like it. I like it a lot.
It gets you play. Like, it doesn't matter where it gets you. People are going to love you if you're 100% you.
Yeah. That's when you shine.
Yeah.
You shine when you're naturally yourself. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, you know, Johnny's an awesome bloke, but how many Johnnies do we need in the world?
Oh, one is enough.
Johnny, you mean this with total respect?
Yeah, one is enough, please.
Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast.
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you. Tell me when you walked out on stage though for that filming, what was going through your mind?
Well, I wasn't nervous. It was just more endorphins running through my body.
Roughly how many people were out there in the crowd?
Over 600 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just a really insane feeling because no one was teaching to anybody the whole entire week. It was to a mirror and to a brick wall in a studio in Sydney. So the whole week we were just in a studio, and that's for everybody. Like anybody who was on the master classes that round in Sydney, that was their very first experience being in front of people. So yeah, it was very, very crazy jumping out on stage.
Could you see faces out in the crowd?
See the first 4 front rows. Everyone else is just dark.
Dark, yep.
Yeah. But they'll push up the stage like, so yeah.
I think that's probably a memory that's going to stay with you forever. Obviously, it's something that you'll always be able to revert back to and think about and go, you know what? Yeah, that was an amazing time, an amazing experience.
It goes so quick. Like you just don't think how fast a full week of like rehearsing, and then just 45 minutes on stage for a lot of the people there, depending on what tracks you were on. Like you're probably just there for maybe 20 minutes and then boom, done.
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of fun because it goes way too fast. So don't take opportunities like that for granted because it just goes too fast. And then you go back to work and you're the same person and you're like, cool.
Yep. So Les Mills Live experiences. Have you had any Les Mills Live experiences?
Yeah, I have. I think I taught a couple of shabams and I've been able to shadow some body balance classes at Les Mills Live, and they're really fun. I like more of the more local workshops and the live workshops. Yeah.
Yep. Why is that? Why do you prefer the local ones? Is it because they're a little bit smaller than the big events, or is it you're connecting better with people that you know rather than people en masse?
I like the smaller groups, just more connection with people. And I feel a lot of people when it's more groups, I feel like they get a little uneasy, or some people, I guess sometimes they're too busy worried about if they're spotted, or if like, I wonder if they'll see me and I'll jump on stage. So I think the smaller workshop, I think people are a bit more relaxed.
Yep.
And can more enjoy themselves. And I think now that we're getting back into the workshops, and a bit more metro ones and getting out to other places that we haven't really been able to get to before, we've had a lot of workshops more the south side of Brisbane, so now we're reaching out to more like the north side. So having those metro workshops that are a bit more regional, a bit more north side of Brisbane, especially for here, it's a lot more better.
Yep. Cool. I like it. Now, a couple of different questions I want to throw at you. And so I was just sitting down this afternoon. I was like, you know what, I'm asking all these guys the same questions over and over again. Let's try something a little bit different. Who are your fitness role models?
Oh, sheesh. I haven't really thought of that. I haven't really gone to the point of who I have as fitness role models. I think I kind of just go through, especially when it comes to group fitness, I pick bits and pieces from people that I'm inspired by, like things they say, things they do, or how they move. I kind of incorporate that into my classes. So I wouldn't say that I'm inspired by one particular person. I have inspirations from and utilize that if I like it, if I resonate with it. If I don't, I don't. If I do, I do. Inspired by things rather than people, I think.
Yeah, mate, and I appreciate that's an honest answer. Yeah, it's a really honest answer. I appreciate the fact that there's some people that I've chatted to recently that have gone, oh, no, this, I really look up to this person as a role model. I follow everything they do and down to the T. And it's like, well, that's great. Again, as we were just talking about before, you've got to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take bits and pieces of everybody. Yeah. To help build you to be the real you. So I appreciate your answer with that because I did it on purpose as a bit of a curly one to sort of go, okay, right? See how he goes. And tick. Yeah. I can write that one down. But it's I think it's a common question, especially with social media stuff these days. There's more and more influencers, more and more of that kind of stuff happening. And I think if we're looking at the younger generation coming into the fitness industry, Gen Z or whatever they're calling the new ones coming through, they're all looking up to someone. They're all looking up to inspire to be, I want to follow, I want to be like that. I've got to do what they're doing. But I really do like the fact that you pick and choose. Yeah. It helps you be you.
Yeah, I don't aspire to be like anybody. Like I love what people do and their dedication to the sport. But I think even like years ago, I think back in 2017, I did like a bodybuilding comp because I thought that's what I should be doing in the fitness industry. Starting out, I did that. I wasted away, got the tan, did the comp. But yeah, halfway through, I just felt like, why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself because I work in a gym and this is what everybody does in the gym. They work towards competitions, do bodybuilding, but WBFF, ICN and stuff like that. Like, why am I? But I saw it through and I got to the end and I got 4th place, which I didn't think I'd get. So,
and
that's why I said I pick little bits, not have myself to what I think the standard or who that person I think is to be like them. Find those experiences, experience it. If it's not for me, it's not for me. I tried it. Yeah.
Mate, congratulations for having the dedication to get through to the end of that and actually placing 4th. Because I've never done it, and mate, I love my food too much. Let's be realistic here. I'm Italian, and mate, food is number one there. But working back in the industry back in those early days of 2000s, there was a hell of a lot of trainees that were competing, and I saw the dedication they'd go through, man. Microwaved fish and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and the stench that had come out of the kitchen, and it'd be like, man, you are kidding me.
There was microwave fish the last 4 weeks, and then it was like it was in too much weight. Put it back on the chicken, and it was just And then we had there was a spot where we need to uptake the calories. You need to go up a bit more. How do we fit in more calories? And he's like, we'll put peanut butter in your mashed potato. I was having chickens, broccoli, and potato with butter in it. It didn't taste that bad, but it was very, very dry.
But I appreciate the art form that is macro and micronutrients. The guys that actually understand that stuff down to the nth degree and can go, nah, mate, you need 2 tablespoons of this in order to get you more of what's going. That stuff fascinates me, and I think there's probably an entire podcast, if not a podcast series, on that in itself. Maybe not here, maybe in another channel, maybe somewhere else. But I appreciate the fact that anyone that can go through that, the dedication, the discipline, the training, all of that kind of stuff that comes with it, that's a mental challenge. And yeah, my hat's off to anyone who can do that.
Ella Bryant in Sydney, she just did a comp over the weekend. Like, she looks insane. Like, she recently just did workshops and just trying to find the energy to do that. Like, I was hardly teaching during the whole process, and she still teaches her classes. So hats off to her if she sees this.
Yeah. Ella, listen, and I'm sure she's listening in and tuning in. She does the most of them as well. So Ella, hats off to you, Dylan. Yeah, she looks great as it is. She doesn't need to go and compete or train, smash herself in that way. She's a machine. She certainly is.
Please.
This is the Group X podcast.
Mate, what do you love about our industry?
I love that it is very supportive and inclusive. I think definitely in Brisbane we have a massive array of different body types teaching group fitness. We have a lot of people from the LGBTQ plus community teaching as well. We're very inclusive, and that's what I love about group fitness. Doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. I think we're all working towards the same outcome. And
Just on that.
whether that is changing people's lives or making people fitter, it comes down to the exact same thing. What I love.
So just on that, do you think there's more awareness and openness around the community now in the industry?
I definitely think there is. I think like I said earlier, I think there was massive stigma coming to group fitness. You had to be that macho man when you did teach. But now I think it's kind of shifted a little bit, especially watching the masterclasses. I think that's shifted. And some of the current presenters that are in the masterclasses, they've also opened some more doors with the inclusivity, people who are trans, are gay, more people of colour on the masterclasses as well. It's opened more doors, and I think it's made people feel more comfortable and invited. We've had the door open, but now they're invited to be a part of it as well. Definitely seeing the change in that, which is awesome.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and it may sound strange to listeners, and may even sound strange to you. Back when I started in 2002, 2003, I was one of the only straight instructors in Sydney. The majority of them were gay guys that were around, and I'm going to say there's probably maybe 3 that I can remember in Sydney back then, and it was almost that then the norm of if there was a guy teaching group exercise,
There we go.
they were gay.
Yeah.
Not on the masterclass filmings, not on any of the education stuff you went to, but just in class.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether that changed from then through to recent times or not. In my and I can be completely wrong, and I'm happy to be told, otherwise when I say this. I always assumed and thought the door was always open.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realise, I suppose, that there was the inclusivity that's all come through. I suppose I always thought it was there. Maybe it was just from where I was teaching in Sydney that just seemed to be that way. Has it all, since you started in the industry, has it always been that way?
Yeah, I mean, the door is always open. I think with Sydney, I think the demographic, it's always been a lot of gay guys or whoever you are. I think they're more comfortable with teaching group fitness. I think somewhere like Brisbane and Queensland, I think there is a bit of a stigma when it comes to that stuff. So I think we kind of like in Brisbane or Queensland, we kind of had a little backtrack.
Okay.
Can't be too gay. People might not like it. Some people do. But I feel like Sydney, because it is that kind of demographic, I think they feel more comfortable being themselves.
Okay. That makes sense. That's
a bit different.
Sorry, I cut you off then. Just repeat the last thing you said.
I think Brisbane is a little bit different. And me being from Toowoomba, moving to Brisbane, it was like, what the hell is happening? So I think from living in Toowoomba since I was like 19 and coming here, I think I kind of dealt with that kind of like internal homophobia.
Yep.
And coming into
Yep.
group fitness, learning who I am and living a little bit, I've gone more comfortable with who I am.
Is there still maybe homophobia is not the right word, but is there acceptance of the community in and around Brisbane, Queensland now, especially in the group exercise space?
Yes. Yeah.
There is.
I think people are growing a bit more accepting. I think depending on where you are in Queensland and where you work,
Yep.
people are very, very different. But yeah, I think in the fitness industry, has changed a lot.
Yep.
Things like social media and TikTok, people are more exposed to these things. And that's what it is. Like if people are more exposed to it in their life, and are more educated a bit more about different things, they're going to be more comfortable about it because they hear about and they see about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Has
it's more acceptable.
the filming changed? There's been more inclusivity in filming and that kind of stuff. I'm not across every single program that's out there. I mean, there's 170 something programs that I'm aware of. Les Mills programs inclusive. So, are there more LGBTQ plus instructors in the industry now? And I suppose with relation to filming, are there more LGBTQ plus instructors on filming masterclasses?
Yeah, there's heaps. So from them teaching from step to people who are trainers for like Les Mills Shapes, for example, also teaching like body combat and body jam. There's a lot of people who are also in my community, LGBTQ plus community, who are from trans to lesbian to gay, which is really cool because on the Les Mills app, there's a massive they bring out a Pride series. So a lot of people from that community, they are teaching like a trainer series or
I saw that just recently.
yeah, and something to do with dance. So it's really cool to see, especially other people like Gen Z who are wanting to get in group fitness and they see something like that online, they can find, if they don't have a community they don't belong to, they can see something like group fitness and think, okay, cool, well, I can be in a community that is very embracing of who I am as a person, which I find awesome that someone like Les Mills is doing that.
Yeah, totally. Now, you touched on something. You said the word dance. Now, I read somewhere just recently that there's a new program from Les Mills coming out
Yes.
called Dance.
I was waiting for this. I was thinking this question will be asked me.
Now, is this to replace Shabam? Is this what's happened here? Do you know?
Yes. So by the end of this year, Shabam will have its last workshop. Yeah. So and the new program Les Mills Dance will be launched in January next year.
Now, how do you feel about that?
I think it'll be going into a really good direction.
Yep.
I love Shabam, as you know. Like I love teaching it. It's bittersweet to see it.
Yep.
But I do think it's very exciting to have something like Les Mills Dance coming in to really shake things up a little bit and see where they can take it, something a little bit different. And there were talks of combining Shabam and Jam together, so I'm glad they're keeping Jam as it is and then bringing Shabam. Rumors around that they were getting rid of Jam and combining them in one, so I'm like, just rumors, it's all good. Yeah. Keeping Jam is, and Shabam will be leaving us at the end of the year and we'll bring on Les Mills Dance, which is being filmed at Les Mills Live in LA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get a bit of a taste test on really what is coming.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're filming that and then releases to launch next year, which is exciting.
I like the fact that Les Mills are developing new programs.
Yeah.
Looking at ways to engage the new Gen Z, the new community, but also still tailoring and keeping the programs relevant for those of us that have probably been doing it for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, and I think Shabam has done really well for what it's done. But with its years being around for so long, I still have people, what's Shazam? What's Shabam? So it's really good to see that they're kind of like, they got Les Mills Dance, so you know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be. So it'd be good to see what direction they bring it and what they can do with it. So I'm excited for next year, see where they go.
Yeah. No, cool. So on the opposite of what you love about the industry, what do you hate or dislike about our industry?
The biggest thing that I dislike in the industry is I'm not a very competitive person. So when it comes to people competing, and bringing other people down to get to where they want or need to be. And I mean, I'll be honest, like not being when I wasn't part of the team, I did see being in the background and knowing Johnny where he was, I did see that a lot on the team, and that did get me really, really scared if this is something that I wanted to work towards. And I think the teams have changed considerably a lot over the past few years. So, and I'm feeling very more comfortable. So I think now looking back at it, I bring other people down to where you need them to be to get you further. And I think it's still part of the industry, like regardless of it being part of the industry, or I think even be a competitor in bodybuilding. It's the same thing. So yeah, that's what I really dislike, because I mean it's just unkind and just me to do that, really.
Oh man, I totally agree with you. I think there's haters are going to hate. What's that Taylor Swift song? You know, but
exactly.
Yeah, but there is absolutely no need for it. There is no need for it. You know, I think that I'm seeing a shift, and it's probably been since COVID. I'll be honest and say since that the instructors that are still teaching, I think the negative ones, the ones that were bitchy, the ones that were nasty and all that kind of stuff, left. Yeah, they didn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. They've gone and gotten full-time jobs in whatever they're doing out there. I don't think there's much of it anymore. You know, there probably is pockets of it around, as you're saying, but I think that the acceptance and the celebration of instructors getting where they're getting by our peers is improving. You know, there is a lot of it. I mean, Christ, there's idiots out there that bitch about this podcast, you know, and I laugh at it. I'm just like, hey, whatever. Yeah. All it is you're just showing me your own negativity and your own, you know, your space that you're not happy with what you're doing. So you're going to try and take me down. I'm like, whatever.
They're probably listening to it right now.
Yes. And have a bitch and whinge about it, but all they're doing is really promoting it for me. So you know what? Thanks, guys. Keep it up. But I think it has changed. There's more instructors that are accepting of a lot of stuff and want to see each other shine, want to see each other do some really good stuff. I mean, I know there are some instructors that are very much like, well, I'm not mentoring unless I get paid for it. You know, I'm not mentoring anyone unless they pay me for it. And it's like, well, you know, have a bit of a think about where you come from yourself. Yeah. You know, who tapped you on the shoulder? Did someone tap you on the shoulder? Or I'm not saying you. I'm saying, you know, instructors that are listening. You know, if I didn't have Shannon tap me on the shoulder or pull me into the office and say, "Oi, big fella, do you reckon you want to do this?" I wouldn't be here now.
Exactly.
Yeah, the amount of instructors throughout my years that I've helped. You know, cool. Oh, Tone, can we do some? Can I come and shadow with you? Hell yeah. Yeah. You want to teach a track? Oh, I'm not ready for that. I just passed the mic over.
Drugs.
Yeah, go on, you'll be okay. You know, I put the microphone on upside down on my first ever time that I put a microphone on my head. I come from a corporate world. Yeah, they put it over my head like this, and you know, it was all over the shop. And then the instructor next to me didn't say a bloody word, did she? She just
yeah.
It was ridiculous. But I think it's you know, more these days we are seeing acceptance from in everything, you know, with the LGBTQ plus community as well. I wrote it down, you know, guys. I was watching, I wrote it down. But there's more acceptance with that and more acceptance and celebration of what we're doing here in our industry. You know, there's the group exercise needs to be celebrated. It needs to be given the attention that it deserves, you know, and whether that's from instructor level, whether it's from group fitness manager level or wherever, I think it is slowly starting to change.
Oh, 100%. That's good. It's getting, and it'll get better.
This is the Group X podcast.
This whole session has just been be 100% authentically you. But then also be the person that you needed when you were younger for the people in your life as well. So if you needed that, if you have a bigger brother, a bigger sister, or that friend, once you find yourself, be that person that you needed when you were younger.
That's I don't even need to ask you a question, mate. You've gone through that to. I just need to shut up now. Mate, that sums up our last, hour or whatever it's been of chatting, and I so appreciate that because it's you. Yeah, it's 100% come from you. It's a I don't like the word authenticity, and I've said it a couple of times in the show. I think it's used far too much. The word, the action behind it and what it all means. Yeah, there's a lot of meaning in it, and I resonate with that. I wish I could find another word to use for authenticity.
Real.
Let's go with that. Yes. Yep. Thank you for being real. Thank you for sharing that and that story coming across with our chat as well, because it's so meaningful. So meaningful. Yeah. And I appreciate the fact of you coming on the show, having a chat to me, but being open, being vulnerable, and just letting us see the real side of a presenter and an instructor, mate. So honestly, thank you.
No, thank you for having me.